All right, everyone. I think we're ready to go ahead and get started. If there's any conversations that need to be finished up, the green room's open and available because I don't want to keep any of those from happening, but I do want to go ahead and get started since we're a little behind. And we're going to try, we've got to potentially move at 3:30 if we're not done over to the Ed Ball building. So we're going to do what we can to try to get everything on the agenda done by 3:30. Welcome to the November 29th, 2012 meeting of the Planning Commission. Let the record reflect that we have a quorum with Commissioners Hagan, Ferrari, King, Day, Friley, and Hill. In attendance as well are Mr. Tyler Lohnert from the Duval County School Board and Matthew Shellhorn, our military representative. Oh no, sorry, as I look up, Mr. Shellhorn is not here. Just our Duval County School Board representative is here. To my left. Also in attendance to my far right are members of the City Planning and Development Department and a representative from the City Office of General Counsel. And seated to my far left at the front is our assistant today, Pat Johnson, and our court reporter to my front right here, Diane Tropia. And if you would, let us stand and recite with enthusiasm the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. It is important that an accurate record must be kept of speakers and what is said. Everyone who wishes to speak before this commission must fill out a blue speaker's card, including applicants and agents, and place them in the basket to the front left up there with the blue card on it. These cards will be used to determine if there is any opposition to any particular item, which may affect the scheduling for the presentation of the items to be heard. The speaker's testimony is taken down by the court reporter, so it is important that participants speak clearly into the microphone and only one person should speak at a time. Any tangible materials submitted with the speaker's presentation, such as documents, photographs, plans, drawings, etc., will be used which will be used in a presentation, will become a part of the public record and will be kept by this commission. Therefore, please retain a copy of anything submitted if it is needed. As a courtesy, please place any cell phones, pagers, or audible devices on silent mode. Items are generally addressed in the order in which they are listed on the agenda, which is located at the back of the room. However, items may be heard out of order for the sake of efficiency or to accommodate scheduling conflicts. This commission's bylaws provide that each member of the public who speaks before this commission is limited to a 3-minute presentation. We do have a timer, and it will be used if necessary, so presentations must be focused and concise and should address only the items before us and limited to the criteria upon which our decision must be based. Decisions by this commission on rezonings, including planned unit developments and land use amendments, are recommendations only. The recommendations are transmitted to the Land Use and Zoning Committee of the City Council, which ultimately votes on these matters. The LUZ Committee may or may not follow the recommendations of the Planning Commission, so it is recommended that public hearing notices be checked for additional public hearing dates beyond today. Unless specifically deferred by the LUZ Committee, items voted on by the Planning Commission today are heard before the LUZ Committee the following Tuesday, which is December 4th, is that correct? 5 days from today for another public hearing and vote. The LUZ Committee meets in these chambers at 5 p.m. For any questions regarding a specific application, please see a Planning Department staff person seated to my right. At this time, I will ask the members of the Commission to address the minutes from the prior meeting dated November 15th, 2012.
Move to approve the minutes from our prior meeting. What date?
November 15th.
November 15th.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from November 15th, 2012. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. At this time, I'm going to go through the agenda and address each of the items as far as what will and will not be heard and deferred, and if there's any we're going to take out of order. So if you will, we'll just go quickly through it, and then we'll start the meeting. On page 2 of the agenda, items 1 and 2 are being deferred due to a change that happened, I guess, just a couple days ago. It was noticed for today, so I would just like to kind of make sure if there is anyone in the audience or not to speak to either E1261 or AD 1259. Is there anyone here to speak to either one of those? Okay, I don't see anyone that's here to speak, so we'll just defer those one cycle. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that would be fine. We've asked for the deferral because they've recently submitted a revised site plan that's going to generate a revised landscape memo, and our landscape architect has not had an opportunity to review it yet.
Okay. So those two will be deferred just one cycle to the next meeting. At the bottom, E1265 will be heard today. On to page 3, E1268, E1269, and E1270 will all be heard today. On page 4, all those items are deferred and were deferred previously, so they'll continue to be deferred. Page 5, the rezonings, 2012-507 will be heard today, and under minor modifications, MM1220 will be heard. Page 6, MM1223 will be heard. Under PUDs in the middle of page 6, 2012-616 will be heard, and we're going to take this up first on the agenda before starting in the order that it's presented. And at the bottom, 2012-645 will also be heard. And then on page 7, 2012-646 and 2012-647 will both be heard. There was some notice issues for some land uses that went out that did notice today as the meeting date because of, I believe, just some issues with those being noticed and the companion rezonings that go with them. If they're not on this agenda, we're not going to hear them, so please double check and make sure if you're here for one of the notices that went out on one of the land use changes and you don't see it on this agenda, because of the conflict in the notices, we're not going to hear them today. So just want everyone to sort of double check and make sure no one sits here waiting for something that is not going to be heard. And does staff need to add anything more to that? Or
No, sir, you said it well.
Okay.
There's one in particular that supposedly was going to have numerous folks coming down, and that would be a mobile home park trying to become an RV park up on the north side. And if anyone's here, notices will be sent out once those new dates are established, but we are awaiting new ordinance numbers first.
Okay. So procedurally, we can't take those up today. So if you are here for those, apologize, but didn't want you to have to sit through this entire meeting to figure that out. So we will be re-noticing those and just check the public notices for the dates as they will be coming up. So we will start on page 6 with 2012-616. If the agent would come forward and state your name and address, and then I'll have staff introduce the item.
Stacy Ruiz, 225 Water Street, Suite 1750, Jacksonville, 32202 with the Gunster Law Firm.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to point out you should have a separate package in front of you that says proposed PUD ordinance condition. Also behind that is a revised written description with a strike through and underline dated November 20th. This is application for Plan Unit Development 2012-616, which seeks to rezone approximately 3 acres from PUD to PUD. The rezoning is being sought so the property can be developed as a church. The only change to the PUD written description is to add a church as a permitted use. Staff has reviewed this application and finds that it is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The regional commercial land use category allows for institutional uses. And again, we have reviewed it for internal and external compatibility. We find that it does meet those criteria. This site was developed in 2004 with a 44,000 square foot office building, meeting the PUD requirements. The prospective owner would like to lease approximately 9,000 square feet inside of this existing building for church use. The department is recommending approval of 2012-616, subject to the 3 conditions in your report, and we would just have the condition 2 would be the revised written description dated November 20th, 2012.
Okay. And just so I'm clear, it's this one that was stapled together that says proposed PUD ordinance condition that you're speaking of that we got?
That is it, yes. The agent may propose an additional condition for your consideration.
Okay. Okay. So you have a recommendation for approval with, I guess, now 3 conditions and 1 that we're going to talk about. Are you familiar with those, in agreement with those?
Yes, sir, but I believe condition number 1, the subject property is legally described in the original legal description. I believe we need to change that. The original legal description included a stormwater parcel that my client did not purchase, and so we updated that legal, and to correct, we had an actual survey done of the property.
Okay.
I can get that. I believe it was in the packet, but if not, I can get that.
No, that's fine. What was the date of the revised legal description?
It should be November 20th as well.
Okay, so should both of those be November 20th then, for 1 and 2?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
And with that, I'm fine with the 3
Okay.
conditions.
And I don't have any of the speakers' cards here, other than yours, but if you want to go ahead and just sort of address the other condition that was brought up.
Yes, sir. Through the chair to the commissioners. We have a property owner that's about 600 feet to the north of us, St. Augustine Realty Partners. They own some vacant land right now, but they're proposing to put a possible hotel on that site with a restaurant that may serve alcohol. We would like to, if a church moves in, the church has no problems with the alcohol distance limitations. There's some waivers already in Part 8 as to if a hotel is over 100 beds, then the alcohol distance limitations don't apply. In this case, because the hotel hasn't been developed yet, we don't know how many beds are proposed. So what I would like, and we have received agreement with the language that you have before you with St. Augustine Partners, is to have a condition actually in the PUD ordinance that would waive that objection as far as the church is concerned for that purpose.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, and we'll discuss that here in a second. Is there anything else you want to add on the application?
No, sir. I'm
Okay.
just here for questions if anybody has any.
Is there anyone else here today to speak to 2012-616? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to commission. And I guess I'd just say, we've talked about this in the past with churches going into, not typical church-type buildings or areas, not wanting to cause all of a sudden unknown changes to something that would normally go in there fine before the church went in, as far as the liquor distance. So, I'm happy that the applicant has sort of seen that, and staff has been kind of working to make sure we catch those as they go up. But I'll open it up to discussion or motion. And I guess just to clarify real quick, staff, are you okay with the language that's been proposed here as far as it being enforceable and kind of doing what we want it to do?
Yes, we're fine with the language.
Seeing no further discussion, I move that we approve 2012-616 as conditioned and amended and read into the record. And I'd also like to commend them for putting that language in there, because we have discussed that before about a church going in a non-typical location and then affecting the properties around there. So I'm glad to see that that's taken place.
And just to clarify, that motion includes the proposed 4th condition, I guess, that they've...
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I have a motion and a second for 2012-616 as conditioned and amended. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion carries as well. Thank you. All right. Now we'll go back to the front of the agenda, page 2, E1265. If the applicant or agent would approach the podium. And if you would, state your name and address, and then our court reporter is actually going to swear you in.
My name is Diego Jaramillo, pastor of the church, 7928 Rampa Road. And the case as E-12-65.
All right.
Sorry.
Would you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'll have staff introduce the item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Application for zoning exception E1265 is for property at 7928 Rampart Road. This is on the west side near Argyle Forest, and the request is to allow for daycare for up to 50 children in the RLD 60 zoning district. Staff reviewed the application, and we found that the property is already developed with the church. We believe that this would be a similar institutional use that could be added to the existing infrastructure, and it would be compatible with the overall area. This is a large piece of property, so they do have room to expand. They otherwise meet all the other criteria in order to have a daycare for 50 children. They just need the exception. And so we are recommending approval with one condition, and that is simply a limit of 50 children. The reason we put that on there is because the letter from the Department of Children and Family Services was higher than 50, but the zoning cap is 50, and we just wanted to make sure there was no confusion about that. I know the applicant's here. I believe there is someone here in opposition who lives in a nearby residential area. The church and the daycare would be considered an uncomplimentary use that would have to have the 10-foot uncomplimentary buffer along the north property line next to the residential subdivision. They can speak to the exact layout of their property. I think that there is a fence there, and there is the 10-foot buffer. And it's up to you guys whether you believe, after you've heard everything, if that's an adequate buffer or if they need to relocate the playground. But the application that we had before us comes with a recommendation of approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so you have a recommendation for approval with that one condition. Are you familiar with and in agreement with that condition?
What is that condition?
That limits the number of students to 50?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
We are comfortable with that.
And I do have one speaker in opposition. I'll give you a chance here just to kind of give me your comments, and then we always afford the applicant a chance to respond to whatever is said. So if you want to just take a couple seconds, you can tell us about the project. Or you can wait. Do you want to wait to the end?
You want me to hear
It's up to you. You have the right to kind of...
Well, I'd like to him first speak
Okay.
first, and then
we'll do that then. Perfect.
clarify anything.
All right, I have speaker's cards here for Chuck Phillips. If you'd state your name and address, and then our court reporter will swear you in.
Chuck Phillips, 7350 Amanda's Crossing Drive South.
Would you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead.
To the committee, I have a little bit of printout that will kind of go along with what I'm saying here.
Yeah, if you want to hand that to Ms. Johnson.
Okay.
She can hand those out, but if you want to go ahead and start.
Sure. The church, one of the printouts, the existing church is right along the fence line of the property of all the neighbors. Mm-hmm. I did not see a notice of this hearing other than the fact that I've got the printout, but I didn't see any signs posted, and talked to some of the neighbors today as I work out of town, so I wasn't able to talk to anybody. Since I received this, I wasn't able to talk to them except for this morning. So I know that nobody else is here, but I know that there is some other concerns by other neighbors. So I thought that was important to address. But in the first picture, I'm just trying to illustrate of how close the existing church is to our fence line, which is, the building probably is 10 foot off of our existing fence line. Which is kind of close, and there is some noise issues. Specifically, I talked with the applicants earlier, and to address that the bass music is really loud from the church. It's not so much the music is the problem, but the bass is turned real high, so you can hear it inside the homes. I say this to illustrate, as I have worries about 50 kids next door to the residential area, so I bring that up. They have a lot of assemblies out there, as most churches do, outside assemblies, and they choose to do those assemblies right on the fence line. In the fourth page of that, there's actually a lookout, a makeshift wooden lookout, to where they can see into our backyard, our houses or whatever. So I would, wanted to bring that up so they know, not, please do not build or have assemblies along that fence line, because it's definitely an invasion of privacy. There's a couple of pictures that illustrate that. We did talk before this meeting. They mentioned that the playground was going to be to the other side, to the opposite side of the new school, to where the playground would be. I think that would be ideal. I was concerned that it was going to be on the fence line, so that's what I came prepared for. So I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I would ask that all assemblies be held over there and not up against the fence line. The school does seem to be operational as we speak. It may or may not be. The other concern that I have, this is a big one for all of the neighbors that I've talked to, is Rampart Road. If you look at one of the overhead pictures, Rampart Road is going to be basically the main, it's going to be the main road to the new overpass that's going in on Collins Road and 295. So the traffic on Rampart is already busy, but will be significantly more busy. The turn lane into what's going to be the school for 50 kids can only contain 3 cars. So there's going to be, and I know that not everybody will be there at once, but it will be a significant amount. There's a couple bus stops there now. Adding a daycare into that, along with the expansion, is a real concern for everybody in the neighborhood. I realize that the road is built and there's not much that can be done, but I would ask for the committee to take that into consideration.
Okay.
And then that is basically it. I just wanted to raise the noise question. That's a real concern for the neighbors, and it's going to be a concern, for 50 kids right next door to all of our houses there on Amanda's Crossing.
Okay. All right, I appreciate that.
All right.
And you're going to tell me your last name, Mr. Jaramillo?
Yes, fine, sir.
If you want to come back up, I'll give you a few seconds to sort of respond. And as the commission has questions, we'll call on you to come back up, Mr. Phillips. Thank you very much.
First of all, I'd like to apologize because we don't want to create any inconvenience to the neighborhood. Our intention is just to provide services for the community as a church. And the activity that has been going on in the church for the past 5 years, we never heard any direct complaint for any neighbor. And we try to keep as low possible and stay away. If any neighbor will complain, we'll move anything that we do in Christmas or in Easter activities. Most of the activities are within the church, nothing extraordinary outside the building that is permitted by the city. And related to the daycare, we just built a brand new building that is more than 100 or 150 feet away from the fence line. And its capability for 160 kids, but we're just going to open it for 50 to fulfill the requirements of the city. But the playground is going to be another 60 feet away from the fence line, so it's not going to be kids' disturbance. But the traffic control, I don't think it will create many problems. Even though we're going to bring our kids at 1 hour, same hour, like 6 o'clock, then will be, but parents will be coming dropping the kids. And if you see the review we have plans, the parking lot that we have is really wide. And I don't think will be any jam on the street, just prevent other people that is ahead of them to get into the parking lot. It's not going to be any congestion in that circumstances, unless it's traffic coming from the other side. People have to wait in a regular basis. I seen in the same Amanda Crossing lane, just to turn into the neighbors, people that lives in there, some people has been blocking the traffic, even the neighbors, because it's only for 2 cars as well in Amanda Crossing. So I don't think just the Rampart Road, the way the city designed it for the traffic in the cities, is affecting the neighborhoods, that it goes as well every day in the morning or evening, going back and forth to the entrance of Amanda Crossing. So I don't think a block before that Amanda Crossing will be a problem, because we have a wider road. And like I said, the parking lot is pretty much wide for the people can flow. And to the noise, I promised as a pastor that we're going to reduce. This building that is used by the church is not going to be the church building. So the future church building is going to be another 100 feet away from the fence, and this building will become the educational building just for the comforts of the neighbors as well. And as the privacy thing that he said that invade the privacy, this thing that we put up is just a decoration for the Christmas Eve, an activity that we do every year, and it's being removed and then less than 10 days after the event is done. So it's not permanently during the year, just a stage that we put up just to do like a presentation for the Nativity City, and then when it's done, we remove everything. We clean up everything. We don't trash anything to the neighbors. Okay. So we're trying to be as neat and clean possible for the neighbors concerning the noise and the garbage or anything else. We keep up our property really clean.
Okay. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to close the public hearing, but I've got some questions. Is there anyone else here today to speak to E1265? Yeah, sure.
My name is Carolina Jaramillo, and the address is the same. I'm going to be the director of the...
Hold on one
childcare.
second. We have to swear you in.
Okay,
If you,
sorry.
yeah, it's okay. Yeah, and then my apologies.
No problem.
Right, would you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Well, my name is Carolina Jaramillo, and I'm going to be the director of the childcare. And one thing that I noticed that he said too was that we didn't put the public notice, and we did. As soon as we got it here from the zoning department, we put it up on the side, and it's been there the whole time. And they already went inside, people from the zoning, and they took pictures, and it's there. So I wanted to clarify that we did put it there. We made sure that our neighbors knew we were going to have a hearing. And also, I would just like for you guys to know that the reason why we're doing this is because we want to improve the education in our area. We're looking for a Hispanic kind of bilingual daycare that is going to benefit the community in total because the kids are going to have more education. And that's really what we're trying to do, the good morals and the things that are going to help the children be better in kindergarten and on. So that's really what our goal is, to help the community in education.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else here today to speak to E1265? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to commission. And just a few questions to kind of clear up some of the stuff that's been talked about. The current building that's on the north property line,
Yes, sir.
there's a little bit of room, I guess, between that and the retention pond that's also on the north property line.
Yes, sir.
Is that the area that nativity is currently set up in right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you saying that if you hold any outdoor assemblies, they're not going to be in that area? They're going to be on the south part of the property? Or if you do any sort of like outdoor activities, where would those be held?
Well, if we known before that this will create any problem with the neighbors, we'll set up again the things in there. The thing is, in 5 years, we have done this 3 times, and we have never heard personally complain. When we build a building, one of the neighbors came to our church and put a sign says, would you be kind to turn off the lights, security lights that we have outside? And then we just cover the lights just to reflect to the sidewalk more than the neighbors. And I believe that is a kind of respect for the neighbors as well. Since we don't have any heard complaint, we never thought that we would create any trouble.
Right.
But if there's a trouble, we're able to move our nativity plate to another side of the church because we have plenty of room to do that.
Okay. I was just kind of curious if you would be open to, restricting any assembly activities on that little piece right there, just in between the pond. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Because other than that, it's parking lot, building, that small square, and then retention pond. There's nothing else on the other side there.
Nothing.
Okay. And just to verify with staff real quick, did you verify signs were up and in place? Because the only place they'd be required is on Rampart Road, correct?
To the chair, yes, sir. They would only be required on Rampart Road. The staff report indicates that the planner did find that the sign was posted when he went out there, although curiously I don't actually see a picture of the sign, but the language is in the report that he did find it.
All right. Well, I don't have any other questions, but I'll open up to the
I
commission.
got a picture taken, but with the sign on if you want to see it.
I think unless another commissioner feels otherwise, I think we have enough comfort that it was followed correctly.
Through the chair to the applicant, I just have a question. I'm looking at the property that's adjacent to the residential neighborhood. It seems like one of the homes is open to the church, and I was just wondering, is there any activity or anything that takes place back there that would cause some kind of discomfort with the neighbors?
Just to give a better attending to the children that attend church regular basis, we rent the house. And since we having a line with us, we opened the fence, and we covered the other houses on the side, and we just put the kids, the little ones, and not create neither music or sound that prevent any Sunday, because that's is being used only for Sundays. The house, since we built a new building, is already given back to the owner. We're not renting it anymore because we have the new building already built, and that was always our intention, just to have more space. We don't want to put kids like sardines in one room. That's why we rent the house. We try to keep the house. We try to keep the neighborhoods. We try to stay away from noise or children making sound on the neighbors, and it was only used for Sundays, just for one service. Then the house is closed, and we don't use it during the week.
So is the intent to now close that fence?
Yeah, the fence is already closed, and it's put back the same was at the beginning.
Through the chair to the pastor, we've had concerns from my church with our neighbors in the past, and I would just recommend that perhaps one day you go for a walk down that road. And also, you might find some customers for your daycare. You don't know. Some new members for your church.
Thank you for that.
But it seems like there's been a lack of communication, and that's always important, to check in with people.
We'll try that. Well, thank you for that advice.
I guess one more question to staff. Rampart Road is 2 lanes both directions with a center turn lane, it looks like, on the aerial here. And it looks like there's a stacking lane to turn for the northbound traffic to turn left into the church. Is that correct?
The layout, as I can tell, is that the facility has 2 driveways, a northern one and a southern one. The northern one does not have any stacking lanes for the northbound traffic. There's a continuous island that goes through the highway there. There is a stacking lane for the southerly entrance.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion from the commission? Seeing none, I motion we approve E1265.
There was one condition in the report, I guess. I didn't know if you were considering.
With the one condition of limiting the children to the number 50.
I have a motion and a second to approve E1265 with the one condition. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
May
Thank
the
you,
Lord
guys.
bless you. Thank you.
Moving on to page 3. E1268. Joseph McDaniels, our other agent, if you could approach. And if you'll state your name and address, and our court reporter will swear you in.
My name is Joe McDaniels, and I'm at 244 Deer Haven Drive, 32082.
Sir, would you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Application for zoning exception E1268 is for property at 2775 Mayport Road, Unit 6. The request is to allow for the retail sale of newer used automobiles and, to be specific, motorcycles in the CCG1 zoning district. It's our understanding that the applicant intends to conduct all sales indoors, but because of the nature of the motorized vehicles, they did need to get the zoning exception. It's if this was any other general product, it would have been okay without the exception. There would be no outside sales or display. With that, and finding that this development will comply with the zoning overlay for the Mayport Road area, and that it could be compatible with the area, we are recommending approval subject to 3 conditions. The first condition, though, the subject property is legally described in the revised legal description dated November 15, 2012. We'll strike that one. We don't need to have that in there. But we will keep the other 2, which is there should be no outside display of merchandise, and 2, there should be no mechanical repair work or major alterations performed on premises. We're recommending approval with those 2 conditions. I will say the CPAC for the Greater Arlington Beaches did consider this request. They did have some concerns, and they have recommended denial, and I believe you had the copy of their letter in your packet. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McDaniels, you have a recommendation for approval with 2 conditions now. Are you familiar with and in agreement with those conditions?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. And the only other speaker's card I have here is for Ben Tucker, who's in support of this application. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, sir, I would.
Okay.
Again, my name is Joe McDaniels. I'm the president of Mayport Motorsports out there in Mayport. Just a little bit about myself very quickly. I'm from this area. I moved here back in the early 70s. Like a lot of people, I came with the Navy. My dad was in the Navy. I'm a Navy brat. I'm a graduate of Orange Park High School, class of '73. I've been in this area in business for over 35 years. I'm a CPA in Florida. I worked for KPMG right over here in the Independent Life Building in the 80s. And I've owned and managed many businesses for the last 35 years. So just a little bit about me to tell you that Jacksonville's my home. I lived in San Jose. I live out at the beaches now. I'm here to ask for your approval of this exception to allow me to set up a motorcycle showroom out there at 2775 Mayport Road. This is a very small shopping center. I'm going to be setting up a showroom. This is not a garage. It's not an outdoor car lot or an outdoor motorcycle lot. Everything that we do will be inside in this 2,400 square feet. Now, this building has sat empty. Half of this building sat empty for over 3 years. And I'm proposing to take 2,400 square feet of this and turn it into my showroom. Mm-hmm. The property zoned CCG1, and that does allow for the sales of motor vehicles with exception, and that's the exception that I'm asking you all for today. Now, I've looked at the constituencies that may have an interest in whether or not we open this showroom out there, and I want to talk to you about that. We've got the state, we've got the city, the local business community, and the residents and citizens in that Mayport area. First of all, the state. I need a dealer's license. The state has already been out there. They've approved that site for me to get my license. The city, you've already heard the recommendation for approval there with these two conditions. The conditions for outside display, we're not going to have outside displays. I'm not putting my bikes out there. And we're not going to be a garage. We won't be doing any maintenance here. We have maintenance facilities. If we need a tire, we need a headlamp, we're going to take that to somebody else, pay them to do it, and then bring that bike back, put it in our showroom. I've talked to the fire marshal and others within the city. The fire marshal, this is what the fire marshal says. They say that since we're going to be a mercantile occupancy, that this fire code requires a 2-hour occupancy separation on each side of our space. So they want 2-hour walls on each side of the space. One of those spaces, as I said, this is vacant right now. So there was a bakery in there before. So one of those walls has a 2-hour firewall already existing. The other wall is a 1-hour wall, and we're going to make that into a 2-hour wall.
Okay.
Okay? The other thing that he has said is, this is per Captain Bob Ratliff of Jacksonville Fire and Rescue, says, in regards to the question of fuel storage at this location, because we wanted to know about these bikes being inside, any fuel in the motorcycles is contained in DOT-approved tanks and will not require any additional protections. It's just like at your house when you drive your car into your garage at night. It's the same thing. So the city is on board, and those people, we have no other problems with ADA or anything like that. Now, the citizens and the local business community, they were wondering why we had not gotten going. So they put together a petition for you all to ask you to approve this. And it basically says, whereas we believe this zoning exception is in the best interest of the Mayport community. Now, these are the business owners in that area, in that same mall, that shopping center, other business owners up and down Mayport Road, and 152 business owners and citizens and residents of that area who are saying that they believe this zoning exception is in the best interest of the Mayport community, and they are asking you to approve this.
Okay. Do you have a copy of that you could submit? Okay. And
Mr. Chairman, I believe they're actually in the packet here.
Oh, perfect. Okay. And I hate to cut you off, but if you wouldn't mind kind of wrapping it up.
That's what I have.
I appreciate that. All right. And Mr. Tucker, do you want to speak, or you just want to note you're in support? Okay. Mr. Tucker, if you want to come up. State your name and address, and our court reporter will swear you in.
Ben Tucker, 2265 Palm Landing Drive.
Sir, would you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the Commission. I'm a member of Cypress Cove Good Neighbor Group, CPAC District 2, LUZ Committee of CPAC, and the Mayport Waterfront Partnership. I was also on the Greater Arlington Vision and Steering Committee. At CPAC, we originally had concerns and recommended denial of this application. Since the CPAC meeting, the planner assigned to, by the Planning Department, Paul Davis, has done an outstanding job with this on this application. He has solved all of our concerns. So at this point, as a resident of Mayport Road and a member of the Mayport Waterfront Partnership Board, I welcome any legitimate business to the Mayport Corridor, and I support this application at this point. We did have some concerns of the gas, things, storage and such as that, but we support any businesses coming to the Mayport Corridor. We really need them.
Yeah.
So I'm here. I can't pull CPAC's letter back because we have not had time to have a meeting since then. So I'm here to say, that they solved all of our problems. The Planning Department did, and so I now support this application. So, I'm glad he came toward us. I wish, we had a way to come to the Mayport Waterfront Partnership Board, and things would have been a lot easier. But, let's go forward and make it happen.
Well, thank you. No, I appreciate that. And the comments in the letter, for the most part, if you look at them, have been addressed by the conditions that are in there and some of the things he stated with storage of fuel. So,
as long as they agree with the conditions, and we'll be looking at that.
Yep. All right. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here today to speak to E-1268? Seeing none, close the public hearing and bring it back to commission.
Through the chair, I just wanted to state I had some initial concerns about this application, particularly when I saw the CPAC letter, so I appreciate Mr. Tucker coming and giving us the latest update. I'm your neighbor across the river on Heckscher Drive, Mr. Tucker, and I wrote the original Mayport designation as a waterfront community, so I feel kind of a motherly concern about Mayport, so I'm glad that these issues have been resolved. Thank you.
Is that a motion?
Yes, sir, that could be a motion. I move exception E-1268 with conditions 2 and 3.
I have a motion and a second to approve E-1268 as conditioned and amended. All in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. Thanks a lot. On to E-1269. Mr. Keene. You just state your name and address, and our court reporter will swear you in.
My name is actually Charlie Carpenter. Mr. Keene could not make it, so I'll be representing VRE Cahoon. Charlie Carpenter, 809 Southwest A Street. Area code is 72712.
Would you raise your right hand for me, please? Do from the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Staff, if you'd introduce it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Application for zoning exception E-1269 is for property at 660 Cahoon Road South. This is in the Marietta area on the west side, and the request is for a filling station in the commercial neighborhood zoning district. Staff reviewed the application. We found that there's already an existing Hess service gas station across the street. This is at a corner of Ramona and Cahoon, so it's a good location with sufficient access. We feel this would be a good infill location for this type of project, and so we are recommending approval. We do have two conditions. I won't read them fully into the record, but they remain as they are in your staff report, and they deal with lighting, just to make sure that there's no adverse impact upon any nearby residential areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carpenter, there's a recommendation for approval with two conditions in a fairly long one regarding lighting. Are you familiar with and agreement with those?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I don't have any of the speakers' cards. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Nope, that
Okay.
can do it.
Is there anyone else here today to speak to E-1269? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to commission.
Through the chair to staff, I'm very familiar with this area. I live right around the corner here, and I just had a question with regards to the entry points and the off of Calhoun and Ramona. That intersection is extremely congested as it is right now. And I was just wondering, was that a part of the application, looking at the traffic pattern and how you would make a right turn onto Ramona and also Calhoun from this location?
Through the chair to Mr. Friley, we at Development Services did meet and have been reviewing this. By right, they're allowed to have access, so what we did is we tried to find the best way to work the access. And so on Cahoon, they aligned with the Hess Station's access, limiting it to right-in, right-out movement. And then on Ramona, they pushed the driveway as far as they could. We really didn't see any way to make it any better than what they had come up with to be able to have the access by right.
And if I may add to that, I'm also very familiar because I live around the corner from here. I know there's a lot of issues with southbound Cahoon traffic that wants to turn right on Ramona as if they're going to Trinity Baptist and further, actually driving up on the sidewalk. I've been guilty of it myself when you get frustrated because that particular southbound lane shares the right turn and the straight. And a lot of folks get bottled up trying to go straight, and the folks that want to go right will go around them. And I've heard that there's some issue and that hope that at some point we might be able to get an actual right turn lane in there. I don't believe there's any funding for that. But I did look at the site plan and thought about that, and I wanted to make sure that there were no buildings or improvements that were going to be located in any area that might get taken should that come to pass, and it doesn't look like there will be. So, but we did take that into consideration. I wanted to put that on the record.
Through the chair to Ms. King, I just want to comment about that possible right-hand turn.
Years ago, when I was doing MOT reviews, there is a proposal for Cahoon to be widened all the way to Beaver Street and actually a little bit beyond Beaver to try to match up the segments that have already been widened to the 3-lane portion. I'm sure funding is a big issue there because the amount of right-of-way, when they start looking at doing the widening, it's almost like you end up having to do eminent domain on properties, and I think the city is not real excited about doing that. I do not currently know what the status is. I do know that there's not room for it right now, so we can't make them do something that's not really going to be doable. So as I said, we just tried to come up with the best that we could. Mr. Carpenter, in our meetings, we did ask them if they knew anything about it. They weren't familiar with it. We were curious if the FDOT work that's going on for the new I-10 interchange that I'm sure you know, and I grew up in Marietta, so I'm very familiar with it also. But I was curious if when they did the improvements, if they were going to take it all the way to the Ramona Boulevard intersection, and I don't believe they are. The hope is that with the new interchange coming in, that Cahoon won't be the thoroughfare that it is and has always been. So, like I say, this is not a wonderful setting, but it's an intersection that's there, and this is probably the best that we can come up with for it. Any other development that goes in there, the driveway locations would probably be pretty much the same as what they've drawn on here.
Thank you for your comments and addressing my concerns. If there are any more comments from the commissioners? Seeing no further comments, I move approval of E1269 as conditioned.
I have a motion and a second to approve E1269 as conditioned. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. E1270. If you would state your name and address, and our court reporter will swear you in.
My name is Rajesh Panchal. Address is 1078 Autumn Tree Lane, Orange Park, Florida, 32065.
Would you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Staff, if you'd introduce it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Application for zoning exception E1270 is for property at 7720 Merrill Road over in the Arlington area. The request is for a package store in the CN zoning district. Staff reviewed the application. We found that the property is already developed. I believe it was a former dance studio, so this would represent commercial infill as promoted by the comprehensive plan. We also did take into account the number of liquor stores that already exist in the Arlington area. I know that has come up from time to time recently, and I'm looking at it here. There's to the west along Merrill Road, there's an existing liquor store at the Publix shopping center, and further on down there's one on Accessory Boulevard near Merrill for an ABC Fine Wines and Liquor. There's another five-star liquor that's also it's over on the Arlington Expressway, and then there's the Arlington Discount Beverage on Accessory Terrace, which is some distance from this. But we didn't feel that there was an excessive proliferation of liquor stores. By definition, the zoning exception should be controlled as to the number to make sure that there's not too much of it. We didn't feel that the area was overly populated. Now, that's an opinion that might not be shared by everybody, and we certainly understand that. But in our review, that we felt that this would be an appropriate location. Merrill Road is an arterial roadway, so that's the kind of area we would want somebody to set up a liquor store. Also, this is not for on-premises consumption. It's not as if you're going to have people imbibing on the property and then getting out on the roadway. They would have to take their purchases off-site. We took all this into consideration. We do know that the neighborhood is very sensitive about alcohol, but we felt that on our review that they did meet the criteria, and so we have recommended approval. We do have only one condition. I'm going to revise on the floor real quick here, but it's substantially the same. It would just say that the hours of operation shall be Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. and on Sunday from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. And I believe that coincides with the condition that went along with the zoning exception that was granted for the liquor store at Publix. And with that, we are supporting the application. I will say, I believe a representative, at least, is from here from the Greater Arlington CPAC, who will speak to their opposition to this. I thought I had a letter from the CPAC. I don't seem to have it in my files, but I do know that they did not support the request. Also, I recently received an email this afternoon from Ms. Roberta Thomas, who's very active in the area, very knowledgeable, and she did not support the request either. So I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a recommendation for approval with two conditions that have just been wordsmithed slightly. Are you familiar with and in agreement with those?
Yes, sir, I'm aware of them.
Okay. And I do have a number of speakers cards in opposition, so I'll give you some time now to speak to the project, and then I'll give you a little bit of time at the very end to sort of respond to anything that's brought up.
Good afternoon, members of the Commission, my fellow citizens. The use that we are proposing out there, I think, is, as you can see from the Planning Commission's report, we fill the criteria that we can sustain such a business with an exception on the zoning. I'm here to address any concerns of any of our neighbors that they may have and clear out any thoughts, any doubts about the business. I'm a businessman that's been in Jacksonville for the past 15 years, on and off, dealing with a package store, and I've never had any problems. We've always abided by the laws, and it's our intention to run this as a business that will abide by all the city laws, and if there's any other concerns of anybody, I'm willing to address them. Also, like Publix is right down the street, and they've been in operation, and I don't think we'll be doing anything different. We will be providing additional security. This building's been vacant for about a year. We've taken on this project, and we will add a new business to the neighborhood. Also, this is for off-premise consumption, which means people will be buying the packaged goods and taking them home, and no different from anything that they buy at a convenience store. We will be complying with all the laws, the permits, and the licenses to do the business. Also, as far as the nuisance concerned, that might be of all the citizens that own homes in the neighborhood. Like I said, it's a package store for mainly off-consumption. The traffic patterns will not be affected. We had a new Dollar General that just went in to the left of our building. It is in consistency with all the other neighborhood stores. We will actually be doing a remodel of the facade, which will add to the neighborhood value instead of being a vacant property. And I would want to hear anybody else's concerns and
Yeah.
answer them if there's any.
And I'll give you a chance after they've all
Okay.
had a chance to speak to answer any of the comments or concerns.
Mhm.
I have a few speakers' cards here that are in support that I'll go through. Then I'll go through all the cards in opposition. And if you don't care to speak, just let me know, and I'll make sure it's noted on the record that you are support. But I have a Gul Pariani. And if you do wish to speak, just state your name and address, and then our court reporter will swear you in.
I'm Gul Pariani, 3115 Spring Glen Road, Suite 508. I'm engineer.
Sir, would you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
My recommendation is that we should allow the business to go in there. We have designed it and we have looked around. There's all kinds of facilities right next door, and I don't think this business is going to impose any additional burden to the neighborhood or the community. I think it'll actually add to the neighborhood because we are remodeling the entire store and providing something that I think neighborhood will be proud to have it. So I strongly feel that this business be allowed to open up in the area, and I think it'll be an asset to the community.
Okay, thank you. I have another speaker's card for John A. Lures. Just state your name and address. Our court reporter will swear you in.
Sorry? My name is John Lures. I'm a licensed building contractor and a real estate broker.
Okay, and your address, please?
Say it again?
Your address, where you reside?
4453 St. John's Avenue, Jacksonville, 32210.
Sir, would you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I'm here as a friend of the owners. I've reviewed the report of the planning and development. I've reviewed the site map of 68,000 square feet of land versus 3,000 foot of building. I've acknowledged that the Walmart is down the street to the east, I believe it is, and Publix is to the west. There's an ABC store around the corner, 3/4 of a mile from Publix. It's a very commercial area, and I don't see any reason why 3,000 square foot building on 68,000 square foot of land would have any impact to the area as opposed to all the other activities that are present.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Vijay Patel. and then Riki Patel after that. If you just state your name and address, and court reporter will swear you in.
Good afternoon. My name is Vijay Patel. The address is 11247 San Jose Boulevard, Jacksonville, Florida 32223.
Sir, would you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Can proceed?
If the phone ringing doesn't bother you, then yes, please do.
Yes, my name is Vijay Patel. I'm a registered pharmacist.
Mr. Chairman, we probably do need to answer that phone. It may
Oh.
be coming from council.
Okay.
Oh, okay. My apologies, sir. I'm sorry.
No problem.
The bat phone has rung. We must answer. They're probably trying to kick us out. I know. Wrong number. All right, Mr. Patel, I apologize. Please continue.
Yeah, good, thanks. My name is Vijay Patel. I'm a pharmacist since last 20 years. I'm a registered pharmacist, consultant pharmacist. I've been doing the pharmacy business since last 20 years in several positions, including retail, hospital, pharmacy director, hospice pharmacy director. And my plan is also to go in that neighborhood, opening a specialty care pharmacy along in the same building or the location where the people don't find the several drug at the retail pharmacy like Walgreens and CVS. And I do specialize in a certain hospice drugs where the patient needs for their anchor life support. People do need the compounded medications which are not readily available in the bigger big box stores. And I'm planning to go along in this building. If this planning commission approves these use, then I can have a little share of the building. And I saw the planning and city commission report on his proposal of getting the liquor license or zoning for the liquor permit, As far as the city planning commission's recommendations were to operate under the whatever the hours from Monday to Friday, and close at 11 o'clock, and Sunday 8 to 11. And I heard that some of the neighbors and the community have some concerns about the security and loitering. This building, I think, is on the main street with the proper lighting, proper security, fencing, and proper policy and force, It won't create any problem, because if you see anywhere in Jacksonville, I see the ABCs, Publix, across from the streets, across from the parks, and they don't have a problem with the proper lighting and proper security in effect. So I know Mr. Raj since long time, since almost 20 years. He's been in business for several business, including retail stores, convenience stores, liquor stores, and bar, and he never had an issue in the past. And I think if the committee approves a zoning requirement for him, I would be thankful to you guys. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
And then lastly, Riki Patel, do you wish to speak? Name and address, and our court reporter will swear you in.
Riki Patel, address 2044 East Clovelly Lane, St. Augustine, Florida 32092.
Would you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I recommend approval for this application. One, there are a lot of available licenses in escrow that the state highly recommends Duval County to keep in use because they issue more each year. And also, stores being closed shouldn't be a reason why not to approve it or a complaint for anybody, because there's a lot of stores around Jacksonville that are close by each other. And this will also create great convenience for the neighborhood. And the great thing is it's all for off-premise consumption. People will come and buy and leave. And so I highly recommend you guys to approve this application.
Thank you. All right, and then there's, we've got 4 here in opposition. Steve Matchett, I believe. I apologize if I messed that up. Name and address, and swear you in.
Steve Matchett, 1005 Rio St. John's Drive, 32211.
To affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
One second, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I think what you're going to hear is people from Arlington. I don't think you've heard that yet on this item. I'm going to take exception to the staff report on this in the sense that this is not a compatible and consistent request. First of all, the consistency with the comp plan would suggest that it would be compatible with adjacent residential neighborhoods. And it also cites that a preferred location would be one with property boundaries on 2 transportation right-of-ways. That does not exist in this case. A second citation on the comprehensive plan consistency is with Objective 3.2 or in Policy 3.2.2 regarding this promotion of infill. Now, you've heard this on previous applications. I don't think that the comp plan writer's intent was that this policy would be used to promote and eradicate vacancies with any proposed use. The third part is the consistency with existing uses. I really miss the old transparency on the screen days, but if you have, and I'm sure you do, this zoning map, and you have the liquor survey, the 1,500-foot liquor survey.
Yep.
If you look at that liquor survey, that tells almost the entire story. It is bounded. It is almost completely filled with residential, except for a textbook commercial node there at Merrill Road and Wedgefield. Now that surrounding Merrill Road, Wedgefield intersection that you see on the zoning map includes that PBF1, which is a post office. It includes the PUD to the west of that, newly developed, by the way, that includes Wendy's, Little Caesars, a game store, 2 medical facilities, a little restaurant, barbershop, childcare. The PUD across the street has developed 2 of those 3 parcels with a credit union and an auto parts store, an O'Reilly's. Now this site, the one that has CN on your application, is the one that's the site of the proposal. This is a CN. This is commercial neighborhood. This is not CCG2, which is what this use could go by right. If you take this zoning map and you took this request and you grant this exception, it is akin to dropping a CCG2 parcel right in the middle of that not CCG1 node, but a CN commercial node. That is not compatibility with the surrounding area. And 4, ladies and gentlemen, is the precedent issue. It's funny, it used to be that you couldn't say precedent would be a cause, but now it's part of Planning and Development Department reports. And they cite 2 precedents here. They cite the Publix further on down on Merrill Road, and they cite the ABC store even farther west. That ABC store was around before consolidation days, known earlier as Jack's Liquors. Had an on-site lounge at the time, too. The lounge went away, ABC comes in, and it's a package store, and it's been that way for, 50-plus years. The Publix, actually, was a predecessor, or the successor to Albertsons, which was there back in the 1980s with its liquor store. These are 2 grandfathered-in neighborhood exceptions to this area. To do that here means that this application would then be invoked as a precedent for the next person that wants an alcohol package store in a CN location in Arlington. And for those reasons, I would ask that you deny the application. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Matchett, I got a quick question. The seafood store next door, do they sell beer, wine, liquor?
I've never patronized, I don't eat seafood, so I've never been in there. Everybody tells me I'm missing everything, but I'm not aware, sir. You'd have to ask somebody that would be more familiar. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Staff, do you have an answer to that? Do we know?
No, sir, I'm not aware, but I can find out for you. Just give me a few minutes.
We've got 3 more, and if one of them knows, I'll ask him to tell us. Mr. Tucker, again? Or, I mean, Well, hold on. Let me. I'll give a chance in a second here, but let me go through everyone that's got a speaker's card. Yeah, that's fine. Just come up and state your name and address, and our court reporter will swear you in.
Michael Anania, 8603 Ben Galen Avenue, Jacksonville 32211.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thank you for allowing me to go before Mr. Tucker. I am the CPAC LUZ chair.
Okay.
I'm also a resident, of course, in Arlingwood, which is the residential area abutting this application. I'm also the vice chair for the CPAC and the former chair of the Vision Steering Committee, which I'm going to read from, so you have chapter and verse.
Okay.
Greater Arlington Beaches Vision Steering report. And this was put into ordinance 2010-0847 on the 9th of November 2010. So this is the vision plan that I'm going to cite from. Specifically to the statement earlier that the CPAC is in opposition on this, we were unable to hear this item because it came in between our CPAC meetings. That's why you don't have a letter. But we, in the discussions during the meetings of other consistent uses, we are definitely in opposition by our consistent discussions. So, and the most recent position we had was in the appeal of 926 Arlington Road, the package store there. So, also, this request is pretty much consistent with the same request that you had at 7729, or this is 7729 Merrill Road. The same request that you had at 926 and also at Sesame Boulevard, right down from the ABC store. And although this is not in the Neighborhood Action Plan area, it is in the Vision Plan area, and the Vision Plan and the Neighborhood Action Plan share similar concerns of preserving neighborhood character. Specifically what we have in the Guiding Principle 2 on page 27 of the Vision Plan, first paragraph. One of the statements is, these developments have far-reaching benefits to the greater community when designed to complement the existing built environment. Again, stated earlier in testimony, we believe this is not going to be a complementary use. They can enhance the quality of life by providing new amenities, eliminate blighting, unattractive parcels, create activity nodes, and foster community gatherings at a liquor store and pharmacy. On to another item, page 31. Under 2.1.2, objective 2.1.2, we have a line that the plan states, when developed as a compact mixed-use development, non-residential and residential uses can create signature and unique projects which support the existing character while contributing to a stronger identity of a liquor store and a pharmacy in the same building. Objective 2.1.3, cultivate neighborhood stability by protecting residential areas from incompatible uses. The paramount goal is the enhancement of neighborhoods with a liquor store and a pharmacy in the same building. And then my personal experience when going over to speak to the owners at Robert's Seafood to try and gain the Robert's Seafood perspective and the Dollar General perspective that's just come in. The owner wasn't at Robert's Seafood, but one of his workers was there, and as my understanding, they don't sell alcohol. They would be okay with the pharmacy, as they stated. Dollar General wasn't able to give me a position, but as I drove into Robert's Seafood and slowed down to make the turn that's right next door to this location, I was almost rear-ended as traffic was, coming through that light at Wedgefield and Samonte at Merrill. If the only ingress and egress for this particular parcel is at Merrill Road, just a half a block from that light, there's at the minimum a need for a one-way in and one-way out like Dollar General has done at the corner. The other ingress and egress that's possible, if you look at your map at the back of the application, would be next to the Dollar General's parking lot. Well, that particular piece in the very back end is directly behind the homes in the RLD 60 area, and I don't have that piece in front of you. Here it is. That little section at the bottom that abuts the Elvia Drive homes, that's those neighbors' backyards. The building that we're talking about is in the front section where the Merrill Road area is, and then there's just that little piece to the right, and then the rest is kind of an open area. There's only about 4 to 6 feet of buffering at that fence line for those neighbors' backyards. There's also a 4-foot chain link fence. If they provide the security that the applicant has stated to me, to give you a little more background, the applicant came to my business and we spoke on his intentions of, you know, the use on the property, and said he would try to do his best to improve the security in the area. If he puts security lights on the back of that building, he's going to be shining right in the back of those homes. There will be problems with that, I'm certain, just like the church had that the other commission member had stated. If he decides to put an ingress and egress back there on that CN portion in the very back off of Samante, he's going to have to bust through the sidewalk, and then you've got traffic going in and out of an area 10 to 12 feet from someone's backyard. There's just multiple reasons for this to be denied. If you need more information on the vision plan to back up your concerns of how the neighborhood really feels, there are multiple, you know, pieces within the vision plan that talk about neighborhood character, that talk about preservation of existing neighborhoods. Arlingwood is an existing established neighborhood. Again, Mr. Matchett was very concise in speaking on how this is going to be a precedent that's set. You already know our position on 926. You're going to hear our position on Accessory Boulevard. So I think we're pretty consistent, even without having the meeting to give you the information that we've had at this point. Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you.
Through the chair, to Mr. Antonia, just to clarify, Mr. Hoaxford indicated to me that they do not sell alcohol at that St. John, I'm sorry, at the seafood place. Is that correct?
Through the chair, based on the menu that I found on the internet, yes, sir.
Okay.
They just sell sodas and tea.
Okay.
Nice job. All right.
Very good seafood, by the way.
Okay. And just another thing I guess we need to bring up, the ingress, egress, that's really something we are not looking at today. Is that correct? We're just looking at the exception. Is that correct? I mean, although it certainly is a problem, I'm sure, but that's something that we're not addressing today.
Actually, traffic flow is one of the conditions you can consider if you feel that that's an issue.
Okay, very well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Tucker? We'll need to swear you in again. So name and address, and we'll swear you in.
Bill Tucker, 2265 Palm Landing Drive.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yes, as said before, I'm a member of CPAC, District 2, the LUZ Committee, Mayport Waterfront Partnership Board, and I was a member of the Greater Arlington Beaches Visioning Steering Committee. I agree with District 2's CPAC with all these liquor stores and everything. And the Old Arlington NAP and the Greater Arlington Beaches Visioning Plan shares the same concerns of protecting communities from decline. I've sat here and listened to these speakers talk about how many liquor stores there are in conjunction or nearby where they want to put this one. Well, that's just adding another one. That's not going to help the problem. And this liquor store is not right for that location. It's just not right. It's against the visioning plan, against Old Arlington NAP, the whole works. I ask that you deny this application, and I thank you for your service. Thank you.
Thank you. And Pat Mesowitz, if you'll state your name and address, and our court reporter will swear you in.
It's Pat Mesowitz, and I live at 2733 Witchfield Boulevard.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to state that I live right behind the property, and part of the property goes along my fence line. And I object to having a liquor store there because, okay, they say they're not going to use anything there, but what's to stop them in the future from doing that? And I feel it would be detrimental to that whole area.
You're right there at the corner, is that right? Wedgefield?
Yeah,
Okay.
Wedgefield and Elvia.
Yep, I see that.
Yeah. And I just feel like, you know, it's like I say, that piece of property is right there, right by my fence line. And there's a couple of trees separating them.
Okay.
And I feel like in the future they might, you know, come around and want to use that for something to go with it. And I feel like it would be totally detrimental to the area.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I was handed another speaker's card here for Hitesh Shah. If you'll come up and state your name and address in our court report, I'll swear you in.
I'm Hitesh Shah, 10075. I am Hurst Hills Court, Jacksonville, Florida.
Would you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I heard a lot of support and a lot of opposition. I just want to start with Rajesh Panchal. Let me give you his background. He's a very successful businessman. I know him since 12 years. He has a beautiful 2 daughters. His wife is a research chemist in Colmar since last 15 years, and she got a lot of awards. And he's in the past a commercial Watson real estate agent. He's in this economy. Everybody knows that in last 4 years, America is going through what? If individual entrepreneur try to put his own hard work, $1 million on the line, where there is no hope for that building, is vacant for last 2 years. And I saw the opposition that there is a Publix over there, there's a Walmart over there, we don't need any more liquor store. But the Walmart and the Publix are the biggest corporation, and this guy is putting money from his pocket, whatever he worked here from last 15 years. Nobody in this economy put $1 million from his pocket to run the liquor store. I never seen anybody right now, and his future plan is to give employment for at least 10 to 15 people. He is a member of Indian Culture Society, which is a non-profit organization, Gujarati Samaj of Jacksonville, and the Swaminarayan Temple, which is right 2,000 feet across. They just create a state-of-the-art worship hall. If anybody wants to go and have a tour, you will amaze what 15, 20 family in Jacksonville, those religious can do for the community. I'm telling you, this is very, very impressive. So he is one of the member of that organization. Regardless of business, every Saturday full with his family. He spent all day over there in that temple right across the street. Sorry, right adjacent to that 2,000 square feet. So this is his base right over there. And the future plan, we are talking about the pharmacy or whatever. I don't know anything about this. Right now we are talking about the liquor store only. What future plan they have, we cannot take our decision based on the future plan. And I'm in the favor of the proposal. We have to give the guy who wants to put his own money in this economy to support him. If I see every right and left, there's ABC Liquor, Publix, Walmart, there is no objection for that. If they want to put anywhere the Walmart or Publix or ABC Liquor, they can do anywhere. There is no objection. But in this time of the need of time for America, he bought the building for $250,000. So that money is floating. He gonna remodel $100,000 in the renovation. For that building, he gonna do the parking lot. He gonna buy the $200,000 liquor inventory. The money going to float, and the security we are talking about, he is not going to any difference. If his money on the line, he knows what ABC Liquor doing for the security or the lighting. He knows how to run the business. So I think he will fulfill that. So I don't think any opposition for that. And the other previous opponent, as they mentioned, they try to confuse the members over here by talking about some different thing, but we are talking about strictly the liquor store and the permission. So I am in favor of this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't have any other speakers' cards. Is there anyone else that has not spoken yet that wishes to speak to E1270? Well, hold on. Just if someone's already spoken, I don't want to call you up right now. The commission will call you up for questions, but I'm going to give the applicant an opportunity to respond. If you want to come up, sir, and try to keep it as concise as possible.
Thank you for the opportunity. After listening to all the concerns that are against me, I'm not here to tout what I can do and what I cannot do for the community. I've had several businesses. I've started from scratch. Best thing I can tell you is that I run a good ship. I command a good order in my house and take all responsibilities for my business. Times have been tough, and in this environment, what I'm going to create is a job opportunity for the locals, aesthetics for the business, and I want to rebut to Mr. Steve Hatchett's saying the commission has already, the City Planning Division has already had their report, and I guess those laws were created by the city stating that this, under the CN zoning, that if this kind of operation of my business is permissible use with an exception. The closest church or religious facility, we comply with that. That is the Swaminarayan Temple. Other concerns as far as liquor sales go, pharmacies go, and so on, such businesses. We see them in day-to-day life in this new age where Publix has a pharmacy, Sam's has a pharmacy. They sell liquor, and I, as a business owner, can vouch that I will be following the laws. If there's any concerns about the neighborhood as far as Ms. Pat goes, she stated that she is adjacent property to the back. Now, if you see the map of the property, there's a huge distance. We do not have any reason to use any part of the back property. Matter of fact, I was thinking about putting a fence out there so I could see what's coming through the front door and not somebody coming around the corner. As far as the traffic goes, there was a, I guess it was a buffet place before. And the road at that intersection is, first of all, the traffic's very slow there at that light. If it was stopped by a light, there's no way that is going to create a burden on the traffic coming in and out because there's a center lane, a turn lane that is out there. Robert Seafood, yes, they do not sell any alcohol, but he has strongly welcomed me as a neighbor, stating that it will help his business in this tough times. He thinks that he'll probably get some clientele from my place walking over and getting some seafood. We are still proposing, I say strongly, that off-premise. That means people come in, they pick up their stuff, and they're gone. What they do behind closed doors, we're not here to promote that business of drinking or anything like that. And I see that sometimes in this day and age where religion comes in, but we are looking strictly at the facts that can we operate this business at this location given the land use. And I strongly urge you as the commission to please approve my application in advance. Thank you. If there's any other questions, I'm willing to answer.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. Anyone else speak to E1270? Well, if you've already spoken, we don't. We'll call you up with questions once everyone's given their 3 minutes. We afford the applicant a chance to rebut, but that's it. But if anyone on the commission does have questions for you, they'll call you up. But seeing no one else, I'm going to close the public hearing on E1270 and bring it back to the commission. And I guess just to start off to the staff, can you address some of the comments that were brought up? I know it's not in the same action plan that some of the other ones we looked at were, but the the vision plan was brought up that was put into a 2010 ordinance, and I didn't know if you could address some of the comments that were brought up by some of the opposition.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, this is inside the Arlington vision plan. This vision plan, like the other 5 that we have for various parts of the city, seek to promote the stability of existing areas, try to promote proper commercial infill. I'm not aware that this particular vision plan or any of them make a specific reference to the sale and service of alcohol in particular. So that really then comes down to a matter of opinion of whether alcohol as a retail use would be appropriate at this location. But you could find a way to argue it one way or the other, depending on your views on alcohol when it comes to this matter.
And that's the only overlay or study area or plan that it's within, is that vision plan?
Yes, sir, that's correct. This,
Okay.
the previous liquor store that had been referenced, that was a couple of meetings ago down on Arlington Road, that was located within the boundaries of the Old Arlington Neighborhood Action Plan, and it was also on the periphery of the Rajero Road Town Center. This particular property is not close to either of those.
Okay.
Through the chair to staff, I can't remember, I believe it was Mr. Machete. I'm sorry if I butchered his name, but he mentioned that at the shopping center, the Little Caesars, there's a child care. Would that not show up on the liquor survey, or since it's not a school and it's just a daycare, it didn't need to show up?
Through the chair, and I believe it's Mr. Matchett. And daycares are not entitled to distance limitation protections, and so that's why it would not show up on a survey.
Through the chair, another question for Mr. Huxton. I understand that this application is not within the Old Arlington NAP, but did not the staff also recommend approval of that application, E-1259, and the Planning Commission recommended denial?
That is correct. And by way of further explanation, the LUZ upheld the decision of the Planning Commission and denied the appeal.
Through the chair to staff, if, and that's a big if this was to go through, is there any way we could address the concerns about using the back property for ingress and egress? Could we condition it somehow that they would have to come back in front of us somehow to do improvements, or is that a right that they have as a right and we cannot condition?
Through the chair to Mr. Ferrari, I'm glad you brought that up, because under the Land Development Procedures Manual, if you have a commercial property that fronts two roadways, they are entitled to one access to those roadways. So if it came into development services, unless there's some condition that says they couldn't have that driveway, they would be permitted to create that driveway. I think they'd impact or have a lot of problems with trees and drainage and some of that kind of stuff, but they would be entitled to ask for that. So unless there's something in here, I would not be able to prohibit that access.
Mr., is it Punchal, is that right? Can you address the comment? Is there any intention of bringing a drive all the way around the back to access Wedgefield, or is the intention to just have the access on Merrill Road?
It is our intention to just have the access on just Merrill Road.
Okay, so you wouldn't have any problem with limiting everything to just that front half acre and not improving or causing any access to happen through the Wedgefield area?
No, we do not plan on doing anything. It's just the property, if you look at the shape of the property, it's really a odd-shaped property. Our concern is just having the entrance and maintaining the business on the front level. Matter of fact, I'm thinking about, like I said to you earlier, I'm thinking about putting a fence through the back so it will avoid me having to look in the back. Also, if the concern was there for lighting, now if you see the distance, there is an empty lot of space at the back that the Dollar General owns now, and a huge pavement. Now, there's no way that even the security lighting on top of my building would shine any further than 50 feet out, and here we have at least, I would say, close to about 500 feet away, even the nearest fencing. So, again, the lighting through the Dollar General, our lighting is not going to be any different than theirs. They actually go out further in the back of the property. We are just maintaining security for our level in the front.
Yeah, just to clarify, I don't think your point changes at all. The distance is about 200 or so feet, but your point is still the same, that your lighting would all be up at the building.
Right, and it would be from the top to the immediate area that would... also, if there's a concern of loitering, I would tell you, like I said, I owned several businesses before. Based on my experience, and you can ask your experiences, you go into a store, 99% of the time you're in there for soda or whatever you have, you take it, you pay for it, and you leave. Now, if if there's a business owner present on the premises, or you train your personnel that, hey, this kind of behavior is not accepted at all, you know, I mean, look through my records. I've never had any problems with loitering. I have signs posted in my buildings, and never been a concern.
Okay. No, that helps. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, as a follow-up to Mr. Ferrari's question, if the Planning Commission were to approve the exception and adding a condition that precluded a driveway access on Wedgefield, the only way to remove that would be to come before the Planning Commission once again. There is no administrative process that could remove that condition.
Through the chair. I appreciate the applicant's entrepreneurial spirit and his wanting to invest in this community, but this community has consistently spoken with one voice about additional liquor stores moving into their community. And I feel very strongly when the CPAC makes a recommendation. While they have not made one on the specific application because of a timing issue, they've been very consistent. And because of that, I cannot support this application.
Through the chair to staff, could you review the, at the beginning of your staff report, the locations of the liquor stores in the surrounding area?
I believe page 6 contains a mention of the ABC and of the Publix liquor store. And I put some additional stuff on the record that was not in the staff report, but that I happen to be aware of when I mentioned all the other liquor stores that I'm aware of in the area. Was there a particular question?
Well, I just remember several stores in several locations, and I'm just trying to get familiar with the area myself. So if you wouldn't mind repeating those.
Okay, and I'm looking at an area that's bounded on the west and the north by the St. Johns River, on the south by Arlington Expressway, and on the east by the Southside Connector leading up to 295. To the west of this location along Merrill Road is the Publix grocery store that has a liquor store that's referenced in your staff report. Further to your west, and I can't give you exact distances, it would be difficult for me to guess. But further to the west and along Cesare Boulevard is the ABC that's been referenced. Also, further down on Cesare Boulevard, specifically on Cesare Terrace, which is a side street coming off of Cesare Boulevard, is the Arlington Discount Beverage. And then the fourth location is technically not inside that boundary that I gave you, but it's on the south side of Arlington Expressway. It's where the old Steak and Ale used to be, and it's now called the 5-Star Liquor Bar and Grill. Those were the 4 liquor package store locations that I was able to locate within the Arlington area.
Yeah, if you don't mind, and do you have any comment to that?
Just quick. The Arlington Beverage is just a convenience store. It's not a package store.
Okay.
And the Liquor Bar and Grill, I believe, is on premise where you sit out like you would go to any wing place or something like that. So there's only 2 liquor stores in the neighborhood, the vicinity of about 2.5 miles, like I'd say, and they're all to the east. I mean, if I was facing this way, west.
Oh, yeah.
And there's only one on Merrill Road, and that is held by Publix.
Right. Okay.
There's no other liquor stores on Merrill Road.
Thank you. I mean, I guess to the commission, if, you know, on one hand to say that every vision plan specifically says that, you know, liquor stores are bad would mean that, you know, all 5 vision plans covering the entire county, you know, would not require another, or all 6, would not allow for another liquor store. On the other hand, we've had a lot of these come up in Arlington, and Commissioner King is correct. There is definitely a very strong community opinion about liquor stores in this area, and I do think it's sort of up to us to consider, you know, where is the most appropriate place if any of these are going to be coming in. I mean, you know, as you know, taking staff's comments and, you know, the very well versed comments from the opposition, I don't necessarily feel as strongly as Commissioner King. I think, that we do have to figure out, where it's appropriate and where it's not. I don't see the vision plan as being so specific as, liquor store is completely against it in any part of any, place in the city. But, I do think, we do have a requirement to make sure that if we do approve them, they are in the most appropriate places. But just as a sort of counterpoint, I don't know that have as strong a feeling, and I think, a lot of evidence has been shown, to this specific general location that would, allow for it.
I reviewed the vision plan, and you're correct. It makes no mention of liquor store specifically, and so I think what folks said earlier, it's really up to us to interpret what that means. And I think, in very recent cases, we've made a determination that it was not appropriate, and we were upheld by LUZ on that decision because it was appealed.
Yeah, through the chair, and I think that's something we really need to look at is we're looking at an exception. There's places that this can go in by right, and it comes in as an exception for that exact reason, for us to analyze it and see if it fits in that neighborhood. And in no means do we want to stifle a business that is probably going to do well and possibly bring jobs and revenue to the area, but at the same time, it's an exception for a reason because it doesn't go in there by right. It's many homes around there, and if it was CGC2, like I said, he'd be in there without any question. So I think it's something we really need to look at. I think this is going to be a difficult one because the building has stayed vacant for some time, and it would be possibly a good neighbor for the business, for the area, but I think this is going to be a tough one because you have positive reasons on both sides to go both ways. So I think we're going to have to think this one through just a little bit.
I'd like permission to talk again.
If one of the commissioners wants to address you, they can, but I can't have you come up just yet, but if there's any commissioners that want to address you, they will call you up.
Sir, if you would like to make a comment, we'll entertain your comment. Please come up to the...
Keep it brief, but you are being recognized by the commission. But if you can keep it as brief as possible, sir.
I'm sorry?
Just keep it as brief as possible.
Okay. I've been a real estate broker in commercial real estate for over 25 years. I've been involved in planning. This particular area is a main artery, 4-lane highway going east to west, very high traffic area. There's already been, the planning board has already approved several uses, Publix, ABC, Walmart, Dollar General. The property has been laying vacant for almost a year. My friend comes along and puts up his money and has a right to use the property for the purpose he bought it for. Now, all of these Johnny-come-latelys that come along and say, oh, we'd rather have something else there. Well, they had a year to put up their money and do what they wanted to do there. So, keeping it briefly as you asked me to,
I appreciate that.
I would say that there's no question in my mind that my friend and client would win an appeal if the board decides to turn this down. He has an absolute right to use this property as he sees fit.
Okay,
Thank
well,
you.
but that's what we're here to discuss, and I appreciate that.
So what, I'm sorry?
I said that's what we're here to discuss. I appreciate it. Commission?
I'll make a few comments here. To stay consistent with what we've done, and I see a lot of arguments on both sides of this, and frankly, I'm really torn right now, and I don't really know how I'd vote on this, but I will say that to stay consistent with how we've been voting before, and I think that's important to this commission, so people when they come up here, they know that they can see how we voted in the past on it. That it's going to be tough for me to support something like this when we just turned down something I believe was right down the road. So, if we want to talk about this some more, I'm going to listen because it's a tough decision for me. So.
Mr. Chairman, I hate to put a damper on the party here, but we are being asked to vacate the council chambers.
Yeah,
so that they
I
can
heard
set
that.
up.
Give us 2 more minutes just in case we're close
Okay.
to a motion here.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to make a motion if we want to bring this to conclusion before we have to move to the other building.
Just one last comment.
Not unless the commission recognizes you. Sorry about that. I apologize.
If one of y'all would like to hear more, you could ask him to make another comment, but we're really in a time constraint here.
1270.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move denial of application E1270. In that it's inconsistent with the Greater Arlington Beaches Visioning Plan and also consistent with earlier denials of a similar nature.
Yes, Mr. Gabriel.
And if I could, if that's, and that's fine, that's the motion that's being made. I just want to maybe cite to the criteria in the staff report that may also be applicable here in terms of the denial.
Okay.
And I would cite criteria 3, environmental impact inconsistent with health, safety, and welfare, because we've cited concerns about crime that surround alcohol establishments in this neighborhood in other applications. And also criteria 5, a detrimental effect on future development of contiguous properties or the general area.
All right, I have a motion and a second to deny E1270. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Aye. All right, just by a show of hands, those that are for the denial of E1270, raise your hand. I have Commissioners Hill, King, and Hagan. And those opposed to the denial, I have Commissioners Friley, Day, and Ferrari. Unless there's another motion that wants to be entered, it would be an automatic deferral. Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion of any other sort? That is going to be automatically deferred until our next meeting, unfortunately. We are short 3 commissioners. So there will be, additional people to hear it, but it'll be deferred 1 cycle by our bylaws on a 3-3 tie, and it will be heard at the next Planning Commission meeting. And that date, if you will, Mr. Oxford?
Mr. Chairman, the next date would be Thursday, December 13th. That should be in the council chambers here, and under the circumstances, it would probably be prudent to reopen the public hearing.
At that point, yes, that would be prudent. At this point, we're going to take a 15-minute recess and go over to the Ed Ball building. If anyone needs directions to the Ed Ball building, we can help you out, but it's basically, and I'm always pointing the wrong direction, the open area here, it's on the back right corner, and it's the downstairs training room next to the bottom of the escalators in the Ed Ball building. Am I correct?
That's correct. It's the same building where Quiznos is located on the opposite side of Hemming Plaza.
And we will meet there in 15 minutes. I apologize. Thank you very much.